Our next adventure takes us back in history to a romantic time that most of us have dreamed at one time or another we'd like to have been a part of, the Wild West. If you've sat glued to Bonanza, Gunsmoke, or Wyatt Earp, then this next adventure will excite every gunsling and bone in your body. We're going to mosey on down an old two-lane blacktop just south of Tucson, Arizona, to a living monument of the Wild West. Tombstone, the town too tough to die. On a high desert sagebrush plateau, a lonesome settlement bakes under a blazing sun. Only 100 years ago, Chiricahua Apaches, led by the famous Geronimo, peered down from the surrounding mountains on Tombstone, a mining town that sprang to life in 1877. In just a few short years, it became the most famous town in the West. Today, as you mosey through town, the ambience of the real Wild West is all around. Original buildings, boardwalks, and saloons are in use today. Just turn the pavement into dirt, add the odor of hard-riding horses, and you're back in 1881. As the mind drifts back to the present, the imagination still runs wild as Tombstone celebrates its heritage every year with Helldorado Days. People from all over the world join the locals for a tribute to days when the sound of boots and spurs on boardwalks, of cards being shuffled and chips being counted, echoed down dusty, windswept streets. Saloons and shops bear homage to the legendary. Cattle rustler and gunfighter Johnny Ringo. Soiled Dove Madam Mustache. Big Nose Kate Elder. And the Crystal Palace Saloon, hangout for such legendary figures as the Earp Brothers, Doc Holliday, and Texas John Slaughter. Today you can stand at the same bar and look around the large room and imagine the action around the gambling tables. The Crystal Palace was one of the most popular watering holes of its time. By 1881, Tombstone was the largest boomtown in history, its mines yielding millions in silver. Every boomtown had to have its fun house. The Birdcage Theater was called by Eastern newspapers the bawdiest, most wicked honky-tonk in America. Today, the original building still houses remnants of its lusty career. Its walls and ceilings peppered with 140 bullet holes.
In Tombstone, Arizona, gambling being the most popular game, this table here is an original faro table that was used here by the famous gunfighters and players that played in the Birdcage Theater. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Morgan, Virgil, and John Ringo were some of the famous players here, along with Luke Sharp, that played poker in this room.
But the most famous spot in Tombstone is the OK Corral. It was a popular feed and livery stable in the middle of town, kind of a Wild West parking lot for the likes of Wyatt Earp, buckskin Frank Leslie, and faro dealer Luke Short. Today, visitors walk through the stables where all the famous and infamous met at one moment or another as they pass through Tombstone. No one knows for sure why the Earps and the Clanton and McLaury boys shot it out. But on the afternoon of October 26, 1881, Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil Earp and their gambler friend Doc Holliday walked to meet the Clantons and McLaurys, accused of cattle rustling. The Earps claimed they just intended to disarm the gang. Suddenly, Frank McLaury drew and fired. As the Earps drew their guns, Ike Clanton and one of his men ran to get away. Doc Holliday whipped a shotgun from beneath his long coat and blasted Billy Clanton. In less than 30 seconds, 3 men lay dying: Tom and Frank McLaury and Billy Clanton. Morgan Earp was shot through the shoulder blades, crippling him for life. The echo of gunshots at the OK Corral would ring through history and into American legend. The dead were laid to rest in their finest on a nearby hill overlooking the Cochise Valley, Boot Hill Cemetery. Here, lying in eternal rest, are tombstones good, bad, and those not too tough to die. The colorful days of Tombstone legend are still preserved today. Throughout the year, locals reenact famous gunfights as visitors recapture the feeling of our Wild West heritage. Once again, horses clop down dusty streets, the saloons ring out with laughter, and everyone is caught up in the enjoyment of Tombstone, the town too tough to die. Isn't it incredible when you think that just over 100 years ago, America was still a frontier with gunfights, cattle rustlers, and stagecoaches. In just a blink of human history since those raucous days in Tombstone, we've built superhighways, we communicate instantly anywhere in the world from our cars, and we've traveled into our own solar system. Well, our next adventure takes us into space, sort of. We're going to squeeze into an actual spacecraft and also talk to a cosmonaut in space from the Russian Space Center.